It began quietly, just a few measured words from Nico Rosberg. On the surface, it sounded like your typical Formula One gossip. But behind those words was a tremor that's now echoing through the paddock. The unthinkable may be happening. Ferrari, the very soul of Formula One, could be laying the groundwork to establish a base in the United Kingdom. For most teams, that would be a logical move. For Ferrari, it borders on heresy. This isn't just a logistical choice, it's a potential identity crisis for a team that has spent nearly a century weaving its DNA into the fabric of Italian pride. If this move becomes reality, it won't just be a new address. It will be a tectonic shift that could redefine the modern era of Formula One. And it leads to a question that was once unthinkable. Is Ferrari preparing to trade its legacy for lap time? Because this isn't a renovation, it's a reinvention. And at its core, it's a gamble with history. For 75 years, Maranello hasn't just been Ferrari's headquarters, it's been its heart. That small town in northern Italy is where Enzo Ferrari built more than machines. He built myth. From Enzo's vision to Schumacher's dominance, every spark plug and piston has carried with it a nation's pride and an almost sacred reverence for what Ferrari represents. But the world has shifted. In today's F1, the beating heart of engineering and innovation no longer lies in tradition. It pulses in the UK's motorsport belt. In towns like Brackley and Milton Keynes, a new breed of performance has emerged. Lean, data-driven, relentlessly efficient. McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull. These aren't just teams. They're ecosystems of speed, technology, and adaptability. And that raises the uncomfortable truth. Can Ferrari still compete for Maranello? Or has the sport evolved past what tradition can deliver? The gap isn't just measured in seconds, it's measured in mindset. Ferrari's consideration of a UK base isn't simply about imitation, it's about survival. About recognizing that allegiance to heritage might no longer be enough to win in a sport where milliseconds define destiny. It's about acknowledging that passion, while powerful, must now coexist with precision. This isn't just Ferrari's crossroads. It's Formula One's cultural reckoning. The evolution of Formula One extends far beyond the grid. In today's championship fight, speed isn't just measured in car performance, it's baked into the entire ecosystem. The advantage isn't just aerodynamic, it's operational. And that's where the UK-based teams are pulling ahead. Setting up camp in Britain isn't about prestige, it's about logistics. It's about being in the center of the action. A short drive from world-class suppliers, instant access to wind tunnels, and an engineering workforce trained under championship pressure. While Ferrari battles customs delays and cross-border logistics, teams like Mercedes can update, test, and deploy new parts within 24 hours. That's the kind of turnaround that wins world titles. But Nico Rosberg touched on something even more crucial. Ferrari's Achilles heel isn't just straight-line speed, it's communication. Every hour lost in relaying information from one department to another snowballs into race day indecision. And in a sport where clarity is king, Ferrari is often found fumbling with the script. In contrast, Mercedes operates like a machine. One unified voice, one strategy, instant action. It's a system that allowed Lewis Hamilton to dominate, where even an offhand driver comment could trigger a complete setup adjustment by the next session. At Ferrari, that level of reactivity simply doesn't exist. Layers of bureaucracy slow everything down, and feedback often dies in a tangle of departments and protocols. That's why terms like engineering fluidity, feedback loop integration, and update efficiency aren't jargon. They're the building blocks of a winning operation, and Ferrari knows it. This rumored move to the UK isn't just an evolution, it's a distress signal. Because this isn't just about gaining time on track, it's about clawing back relevance in a rapidly modernizing sport. So far in the 2025 season, Ferrari has just one victory to its name, and it wasn't even delivered by Charles Leclerc, but by Lewis Hamilton, in a sprint race. Meanwhile, McLaren has surged ahead, leaving Ferrari nearly 200 points adrift in the Constructors' Championship. That's not a performance dip. That's an identity crisis. This isn't just a slump, it's a full-blown identity crisis. What we're seeing unfold at Ferrari is the slow unraveling of a system built for a different era. One that's struggling to survive in the fast-paced, precision-driven world of modern Formula One. Behind the paddock smiles and polished press releases, insiders are whispering about a toxic mix of strategy misfires, inconsistent race pace, and communication breakdowns. Even when the car shows promise on Friday, by Sunday, it all falls apart. Nico Rosberg didn't mince words when he said, "Lewis doesn't even know who to talk to." That's not just a red flag, it's a system failure. Ferrari is trapped in an outdated hierarchy where decisions are filtered through too many layers, delayed by internal politics and clouded by unclear leadership. While rivals like Red Bull and Mercedes operate like agile tech companies, Ferrari still functions like a slow-moving legacy institution. Everyone waits for permission, and by the time action arrives, the opportunity is gone. This rumored UK base isn't just about catching up. It's a crack in the facade, a sign that Ferrari is finally being forced to choose between its romantic past and a ruthless present. And at the center of this storm is Lewis Hamilton. A 7-time world champion, Hamilton didn't join Ferrari for nostalgia. He came to win. At Mercedes, he thrived in a culture built around speed, not just on the track, but in the garage, on the pit wall, and inside the boardroom. A single conversation with Toto Wolff could change the course of a race weekend. Feedback wasn't just heard, it was acted on, immediately. Every element of the operation moved with precision and urgency. At Ferrari, it's different. Things move slower. Feedback gets diluted. Authority is fragmented. The traditions that once defined Ferrari are now the very things holding it back. And for someone like Lewis, who demands clarity, data, and direct action, that's more than frustrating, it's destabilizing. The big question now is, can Hamilton be the catalyst that forces Ferrari into a new era? Or will the mismatch between his vision and Ferrari's inertia create even more chaos? He didn't come to Maranello to be part of a 5-year rebuild. He came to chase an 8th title. And that urgency? It could either rebuild Ferrari from the ground up or break it apart. But this conversation goes far beyond strategy. If Ferrari really builds a base in the UK, it ignites a much deeper question. What happens to the soul of Ferrari if it's no longer entirely Italian? For decades, Maranello has been more than just a town. It's been a shrine, a heartbeat. Every engine built there, every race suit stitched, carried the weight of Italian pride and racing heritage. To the mechanics, engineers, and fans, the tifosi, Ferrari wasn't just a team, it was a sacred tradition. So if Ferrari starts building cars in England, winning races from a base outside Italy, does it still feel like Ferrari? Or does it become something else entirely? This isn't just a logistical adjustment, it's a philosophical transformation. A cultural fault line opening inside the sport's most historic team. And for a brand that has worn its nationality like armor, this move risks far more than just performance metrics. It could change how Ferrari is perceived by the world, and by the generations who grew up believing that red cars from Maranello were more than machines. They were symbols. And this change is happening just as Formula One prepares to rewrite its rulebook in 2026. New engines, new chassis, new fuel regulations. It's a clean slate, the kind of reset that only happens once a decade. Every team will face the same challenge, but only a few will have the vision and infrastructure to lead. So now the stakes are higher than ever. Is Ferrari building a foundation for the future, positioning itself to dominate in a new era? Or is this move just a desperate reaction to a season slipping through their fingers? Because if they do commit to a UK base, it can't just be a band-aid. It has to be transformational. It has to work. Because if it doesn't, then the Ferrari that once symbolized racing glory could risk becoming something far more painful. A team trapped between what it was and what it no longer knows how to become.